the gates. All right, let's hear what the fucking Daily Wire fart sniffers had to say.
Here it is. This is it. And here these guys go.
New sort of, I shouldn't say new, it's been sort of fermenting for the last handful of years, but I think it's really gaining prominence now, both in the very intellectual part of the American right, but also in the very fringe parts of the American right. And the fact that
I'm going to do the Tim Pool clip after this.
That what I'm about to bring up is happening in both of those places.
I got to pee.
People who we all in this room read, people with whom we are friendly, people with whom we admire are participating in this conversation. Also, the complete whack jobs, the people who I don't think should have any voice in our movement. I think that they're malevolent forces are also circling the same idea. That makes the idea, I think, something that we should talk about, and that's this idea that the American experiment is over. This idea that none of our institutions that have taken us through the last 2+ centuries on this continent exist anymore, that we can't find any solution to our cultural and political problems through the political system, and that perhaps it's time to look to older systems, strongman, monarchy, even dictator. I mean, when you have
all right, pause. I just want
to
you know, it's easy to get distracted at how all of these
sucking on that phallic object.
Well, these like tiny little men are playing make believe like they're big boys, and it's possible to get distracted from what Jeremy Boring is saying, but he is saying our institution seems to be failing, that there's problems here, and you could stop that conversation there, and we could have had that conversation. The real question becomes, okay, if we accept that premise, and there's some reasons to accept that premise on some level, what is the failure about? Like, what is it? And how do you address it? It would be more democracy, right? And when we talk about concentrate power even more.
Aristocracy, baby, bring it back.
And exist anymore, that we can't find any solution to our cultural and political problems through the political system, and that perhaps it's time to look to older systems, strongman, monarchy, even dictator. I mean, when you have major voices in the sort of conservative intelligentsia,
name them,
openly discussing the idea of whether a dictator will be required to save this country, or an emperor would be required to save this country, or a king would be required to save this country, I think that that's something that merits actual conversation.
So let's be clear here. In the Claremont Institute, all those guys at the Claremont Institute let's
actual conversation. So I thought, rather than talk,
they're talking about like it merits a real discussion whether or not we should have a dictator. What the fuck? Is Fortnite overrated? Guys grew up. And now they're like, hey, this election stuff, this democracy stuff's kind of whack. We should just have a god king. It's great.
Talking about the latest stupid thing Joe Biden said, or, the most salacious details from the Trump trial, although they are fun to talk about. Let's talk about something that we can only talk about when we're together. Let's get to the deep stuff.
So, Michael, you're a monarchist.
Yeah, well, they tie in. He pins it on the Catholic, that we're all crypto monarchists. We all think Trump is Caesar.
I didn't say crypto.
Yeah. And by the way, we don't think that Donald Trump ought to be Caesar. We think that Baron Trump ought to be Caesar. Okay, those are very different things.
Ew.
Look,
good stuff.
The problem is this. I am not calling for the overthrow of the American regime. The problem is that the American regime has been overthrown.
Pause it just real quickly.
And
These
it
are
has
like
been...
failed Hollywood people sitting around like they're at the Constitutional Congress.
It's unbelievable. It really is sort of astonishing.
The overthrow of the American regime. The problem is that the American regime has been overthrown. And it has been overthrown by the 17th Amendment, which fundamentally orders the relationship of the states to the federal government. It's been overthrown by Congress giving away all of its power to the executive agencies. It's been overthrown by any number of things that have taken place, not over the last 10 years.
Can you just pause it really briefly? You don't even need to take it off the screen. But when he talks about the 17th Amendment there, that is literally an anti-democracy argument, because that allowed for, if I'm not mistaken, the democratic election of senators, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So this is him saying
too much democracy
the Senate is too democratic.
Ago.
The filibuster Senate is too democratic for Michael Knowles.
Yeah.
Show this to your armed, friendly, libertarian neighbor. Brother, what are you talking about? If they're armed and libertarian, they probably agree with Michael Knowles. You think libertarians don't become monarchists like that? What are we talking about?
Over the past 150 and 200 years. And even that is not necessarily to be lamented. It just happens. You can't rewind.
I like that they start off the conversation by talking about like a bunch of freaks in right-wing discourse that, muddy the waters and like ruin the cause or whatever. And they're literally the freaks. Like they themselves are like, oh, those other guys, like, ew, gross, QAnon. It's like, bro, you're sitting in the room with a bunch of people that are not even one step removed from QAnon, and you are barely one step removed from QAnon. Fuck do you mean?
The tape, you can't go back in time. But the argument to look towards certain classical thinkers, notably Polybius, is that there are different kinds of government. Our founding fathers and framers wrote about this a lot, and I think they were channeling Aristotle and Polybius. Polybius's idea of the cycle of regimes is that you got three acceptable forms of regime, and then you've got their kind of evil twins. So you've got monarchy, which can be good. Monarchy, when it's good, is governing for the common good. When it goes bad, it's a tyranny, and it's just like a dictator for his own self-aggrandizement. Aristocracy can be good. There have been good aristocracies. Aristocracy means good, or governing for the good. The bad version of that is oligarchy. We see those all around the world. Democracy can be
not in America, though.
Be good. A republic can be a really good thing, but it turns into mob rule when it goes bad, and you ignore the common good.
No, that's just what it is. Democracy is mob rule. It's just a negative way to say democracy bad. This is straight up idealism analysis. Yes, this man in many respects is a perfect liberal, okay? Because the perfect liberal is an idealist, and the perfect liberal, as long as you are protecting some kind of private property rights or whatever, is going to inevitably say only a king can protect private property better than anyone else can. It's pure idealism, zero materialism, pure idealism. He maxed it out. It's like, what if we had kings, but they were good? The fuck do you mean, what if we had kings, but they were good? What are you saying right now? Also, considering that they're fucking capitalists, the current system isn't bad for them. They like the current system. It's just that there's too many chirpers. Like, even their anger towards the current structures that we exist under is simply because there's people telling them that they're wrong and lame. And in the case of Michael Knowles, possibly gay. That's it. That's the only thing. Like, they just want to eliminate that aspect of it too. Like, what's wrong about the way that society's designed right now? That, like, sometimes you got to get vaccinated when you don't want to. That's it. Like,
good, and you govern for yourself. And our framers and founding fathers wrote about that ad nauseum.
No, but what they wrote about also was the fact that the monarchy was something where you couldn't have actual representation of the people. He's avoiding that entire premise that the founders were explicitly anti-monarchy. Maybe, like, if you were to poll Americans and ask what the founding fathers' opinions on politics were, just the number.
I agree with MR's takes, except the lesser two evils vote over voting your conscience. Do you think you could talk to Uncle Sam about this? No, because I don't care. Like, I don't care to change his perspective on it at all. I don't care to change anyone's perspective on that front at all.
One thing people would say would be they didn't want to have a king anymore.
Especially the regular people. Like Thomas Paine was more popular with everyday people than most of the founding fathers were because he spoke to them with like common sense and that sort of stuff.
But here's the bottom line. They are anti-democratic. I mean, this is just the bottom line. They are anti-democratic. They are basically.
Some of the founding fathers did want kings, though. Oh, okay. Well, let's have a dogmatic belief system where American capitalism is the religion and the founding fathers are our original prophets. Then, like, so many Americans, especially Reddit atheist Americans, think that they have like escaped dogmatic thinking, only to restructure the entire energy and direct it towards American capitalism as the Constitution being its fucking Bible and the founding fathers being the unshakable prophets. Okay. So what? They also had slaves, man. I don't think that they had slaves. George Washington had literally teeth from slaves that he put in his mouth. Like, that's pretty fucked up, I think. I don't look to all of those guys to be like, well, they had a lot of things, figured out.
Saying that, look, sometimes this form of government, sometimes that form of government works, sometimes this form of government works better. And of course, what better means
right
is a function of like where you stand.
To be honest, Washington publicly denounced the slave trade. He just, in parentheses, he just participated in it. Yeah, he was also a rule breaker. He would literally send his slaves over to other states every 6 months so that he could maintain his slaves, like so he could keep them. Because there was a rule in the books at the time that he couldn't have, no one could have slaves over a 6-month period. Can you source that information? Liberals are communists, conservatives are fascists. Oh, Google it. I don't know. I just Google it. Just Google it. Google it. Come and own me when you find information conflicting it. Okay. I'm not going to source it again and again and again every single day. Like, I'm not fucking Google. At a certain point, I have to be like, listen, if you don't trust me, and you should Google the things that I say anyway, it'll be good for you. It's good practice.
Incidentally. But fundamentally,
see, chat Googled it for you.
We do not like democracy. And certainly, you need checks and balances within a democracy. Certainly, there are things that society leans into or...
Where are we in that cycle of regimes? Unless you believe that America just paused history, if you really believe we've as Fukuyama, at the very least, is caricatured as having said, that we've reached the end of history and it's over and liberal democracy...
I'm sorry, who said that?
Francis Fukuyama.
Okay.
Having said that we've reached the end of history and it's over and liberal democracy won. And unless you think history is really over, then you do have to entertain the possibility that something will come next.
Yeah, well, I mean, I don't know who those guys are that you just mentioned.
Yeah, there's some buddies of mine from New York.
Polybius? Okay. Yeah. I'm kind of...
Wait.
I agree almost with the diagnosis of the people you're talking about, Jeremy, that I do think that the institutions are fundamentally broken. I don't see any political solution to it, but I also don't think that a dictator is the solution either. So essentially, we're just screwed. Is where I land on it, I guess.
I don't understand why these guys think America is like fucked up. It's doing everything you wanted it to do. You got Democrats advocating to fucking kill immigrants at the border. The fuck more do you want? America is completely aligned on foreign policy. There's just complete bipartisanship when it comes to foreign policy. America's completely aligned on capitalism, complete bipartisanship there. Like, What is the anger that you have? What could be the resentment? Is it that like every 4 years it slows down, like the inevitable decay towards fascism slows down, but just like by one tick, not like dramatically, okay? At least like the federal agencies still get appointments, the cabinet seats get filled, and like sometimes there's like sometimes you'll find like one passionate individual in these institutions actually do their fucking job. That's it. Like beyond that, we are still bouldering towards fascism. So what is the gripe? I will never understand what these guys are fucking upset about. They're getting all of their desires represented by both the Democratic Party and the Republican Party as well. And the more they get their desires, like the fucking hungry little elves they are, the more they want. That's what the problem is. The issue is they get everything they want, and then they're like, well, I want more. I don't feel good enough. Like, we just need to also punish the other side. Like, no dissent, please. I don't want to hear dissenting opinions. No matter how little that dissenting opinion has the capacity to move the needle at the legislative level. Like, think about it this way. Black Lives Matter protests erupted all around the country, all around the world, as a matter of fact, but all around the country especially, right? They burned down a police precinct. What came after that? There was a mobilization around a cause to defund the police, to only take some of these massively inflated police budgets and put those budgets to good use, better use. Social workers should be hired, and try to tackle the like there was a demand made to try and tackle the material conditions, the inequality, and the socioeconomic conditions which crime is born out of. But what happened at the legislative level? Democrats put the kente cloth on aesthetically, took a symbolic knee, threw up the fucking fist, paraded the NAACP adjacent Congressional Black Caucus, civil rights heroes and whatnot, to be like, see, look at they did the Democratic version of look at my African American over there. Okay, they did the Democratic version of it. And then they spent every fucking waking moment literally shitting on the very same people that were like, dude, what the fuck are you doing? Stop killing us. And also, please, for the love of Christ, take some of the goddamn budgets that are massive and put it back to like social safety nets. But the Democrats had more smoke for those people making honest and righteous demands than the Republican Party. Democratic Party put its own counter proposal together called 8 Can't Wait that was supposed to come across as aesthetically conciliatory to the demands being made. And then they couldn't even get that passed. All the while, police budgets kept growing and growing, but you would never understand that if you watched local media and listened to fucking dumbasses that just lied about how police was defunded across the board. Okay? And how beyond police being defunded, which was an abject lie, right? That defund the police protesters were causing the Democratic Party to lose the election. In some places, the budgets didn't increase by the same percentages that it was slated to increase. They considered that to be defunded. They went along with a massive crime panic, which was also exaggerated, lied about, exaggerated to the point that it was a lie. Okay? And then business as usual. Police still crack fucking skulls left and right. Okay? The police budgets were increased. All the COVID funding went to the police budgets on top of everything else. They're still using military gear. They're still heavily militarized. So is the problem here that the Democrats were in charge when that change didn't happen? Is that the issue? Because if you're simply looking at like the actual legislative impact of the Democratic Party, you should be so fucking happy. You should be so happy. So all that remains in terms of the difference of opinion or what you want from your representatives that you're not getting is like probably what? Killing, like directly enslaving black people, not like through the criminal justice system and not making it like institutionalized, but just like openly doing it on the virtue of being black or brown. Is that what it is? Like you don't want the additional liberalizing elements there. You just want unconditional slavery for blacks and browns. Is that what the fuck you demand? No gay people in public, I guess. Women have to literally be servile as you know, cows that need to be bred. Is that, I assume, like, because there's not really anything else that, there aren't any wishes that you have that have not been met.
I might have.
Anybody watching this is sniffing just farts, just straight sniffing farts.
They actually, after this, they actually try and sell it bottled.
The Daily Wire, the air.
Mm-hmm.
Oh
it
my
smells
God.
crazy. In there.
I got an email from somebody who was at who.
That's cheap as hell. I'm not gonna lie. 583 grand. That's shocking. Does anyone have the Tim Pool clip responding to this viral TikTok? Not from the MR. I don't want to watch it from the Majority Report. I want to watch the OG one. Because I don't want to keep skipping. I don't want to keep skipping their analysis.
One would be happier.
He's reacting to a video that kind of went viral by a young woman who basically said it's tough to find people. And, you know, there's a lot of problems with loneliness in the current society. We can get into the reasons for that, but that's what he's reacting to.
You know what you think? Do you, like, would people like this be happier? I think about what society would have been like 100 years ago for this woman. She'd have got...
Because I want to see the original video that he's reacting to as well. Oh, this is for the members? Does anyone have the OG? You should hire your own man who gets right-wing clips together for you. Why would I do that when you're it, chat? There's fucking 20,000 mats in here that literally, even if I don't ask for it, literally scream at me to cover shit all day, every day. Now, it's not even just that. I want to see the OG video. Okay, here's the OG video.
I'm not someone that posts or cries or anything on the internet, so this is a new one for me. I guess I need girls to rally with me and lift me up because I feel so defeated right now. I've been trying to meet someone, just anybody worth my time for years. And dating apps are so awful. I don't need to explain to you how awful the dating apps are. So I've been trying to meet people in public, and they're still trash when I do randomly meet people in public. But tonight takes the cake. Last week I was like, I'm part of an app that you can basically get invited to these events, and there was a comedy thing coming up, and I bought a ticket that maybe I'll meet people here. Maybe I'll meet a guy, or like just meet people in general that like I can become friends with, and then, you know, who knows what could happen. And let me just tell you how this went. I show up, it's a limited seating, get there first, like it was like an open bar, and in my head, I'm a prompt person, so I got there like 20 minutes beforehand, and I happened to be the first person there. Okay, kind of weird, but okay. They tell me, since it's an intimate thing, try to sit in the front row because it's going to be hard to get people squishing through there, and it's a sold out show. Okay, that's fine. I sit in the front row, and it's about showtime, and I'm realizing, like, nobody else is in the front row. It's just me. Everybody's, like, filled in the back. Like, every row's filled with all the couples, of course, and then it's just me. I guess people, like, some people of course, some people are going to drop out and not show up, but the host of the show comes up to me really quickly and like mouths thank you for like sitting in the front row, and she proceeds to go up onto the stage and pointed out, like, had everyone clap for me for being brave enough to sit in the front row, and like that was fine. Like, I get it, like, you know, people are afraid to sit in the front row, and I was kind of excited for it when I thought there was going to be people there. And it was just ironic that, like, the reason I was there was to meet people, and it was like I was a piranha. So she informed the crowd that, like, I was safe from being picked on because I was brave enough to sit there, and I'm like, oh, okay. So, like, the next few comics come up, and they both kind of point out, like, are you waiting on people, or, like, what's going on here? And I'm, you know, have to admit, like, no, I'm trying to meet people. And, you know, again, they're nice, they're not being mean to me about it, but it's mortifying. It's mortifying. And then another comic comes up, and again, it's just like, you're pretty, but, like, you know, and it's just, yeah. So by the end of the show, the lady comes up and says that they normally do a raffle to win this prize, because it was kind of at like a boutique type thing, but instead of the raffle, she's going to give this thing filled with stuff to the brave young woman who came first and sat alone in the front row. And then she had me introduce myself. What's your name? Anya. And like everybody's as if like brave fucking me.
Where is this going?
And she tells me to make sure to give my email to so-and-so to get like some gift card or something. And like this is all in front of everybody. And I just like, I know nobody's sitting there like, oh my God, look at this girl. But like, it's just, it feels like such a slap in the face. And I'm not even mad at the comics. I'm not even mad at the lady. Like, I would probably think the same thing. But like,
I don't understand it. Like, is she just like sad that people were treating her, I guess, like with additional care and consideration, like she's a Make-A-Wish kid because she was alone at the comedy club? It's like a nightmarish social situation. Yeah, I guess, yeah. She got set up to be humiliated / make the comics look good for giving her stuff. You don't have social anxiety, my friend? I mean, I would not. I would not. Bro, that's patronizing as fuck. I'm just asking. Okay, chat. This is probably the best. This is probably the best group of motherfuckers to ask this question, okay? This is like role reversal. This is like when I'm talking about like normal social stuff and chat doesn't understand it, and then I have to be very careful and explain to them what jokes are and things like that. Okay? Now I'm understanding. Because I fully can't comprehend it. I thought like they were dunking on her or something. I didn't realize they were just like, you know, you're so brave for being here in the front row. Like, for me, I would be like, oh shit, free stuff. Like, that's awesome. You know what I mean? I would literally be like, that's great. Thank you for giving me gifts, for fucking coming to For me, I'd be like, okay, I got to see some mid comedy and I got free shit and I got noticed. Like, so I'm trying to understand what the problem is. Like, I'm not making fun of her at all. I literally needed someone to offer me additional context as to why this is like very bad. I feel for her. It's a rough situation. Yeah, no, because like in that moment, I